Thank you very much to be here, also to take the time just before the big event of the Nocturne. So I'm happy to explain you something about the Accelerator program, which we have defined as part of the Relance Plan for Flanders within the Belgian and European Relance Plan for Europe. So Relance was important because after COVID, we needed to do something to accelerate digital transformation, but also to accelerate the impact and the development of sustainability within our factories. Because a factory that will exist tomorrow has to be sustainable or find a way to sustainability, and this is a big challenge. That's also the reason why we said, let's start from the research, but then bring it also to the companies in an accelerated way. So let me quickly, and if you look to the Flemish, Belgian, European industry, there is only one way we can win the battle with China, and that's because we want to be close to the customer. We want to make custom-made products, but at a cost of serious serial production, because we have a high wage, we are a high wage country. So that's important that we support this industry. By having this industry, by having production in our region, we also have kind of a very enabling element to have the product research in our region. So the combination of product and production is very important to have a kind of a sustainable environment or sustainable means for keeping the production here. That's also the reason why Flanders Make has been developed a strategy where we say, okay, products need to be smart and connected. That's, I think everybody knows today, no product is not connected anymore. With also AI and a lot of sensors, we can make them very smart and step by step make them operating in a different way, adapting and also adapting to the environment. The same is true for production systems. On production system, we want to make unique products in our world, in Europe, and that's what we are famous for on the market. Of course, the human has also a place in this factory, because if we want to make it products at the need of the customers, we need to be flexible. And flexibility will come from the human part of the automation. And so the combination of automation where you have repetitive environment and the human environment where you can integrate flexibility, this will be important in our future organization. So a future industrial or a future-proof industrial environment has to be also human-centric. And of course, products and production systems, they need to be sustainable. This means that products need to be able to be upgraded, to have a lifetime which is longer than before. And so we have to also finally recycle the materials to not really need the planet and the resources on the planet more and more, just to keep on working and developing no product. So we will support large and big companies in their journey towards digitally sustainable and a competitive industry. So for us, the manufacturing industry is the basis, I would say, but more and more we see that Industry 4.0 is a transversal technology which has an impact and a potential in all sectors. So today, we have companies which are members of our organization, which are in pharmaceutical, chemical, but also manufacturing. That's important. Although our DNA is still the mechatronics environment where you have machines and vehicles and production system as such. But the use cases from other industries can inspire also the manufacturing, and that's also the reason why this is important in this ecosystem. Because IP is less an issue if you have a cross-sector initiative rather than within a sector initiative. If you look to the strategy, will have an impact, if you look to the left, both on product production, but also we think about people. Sustainability is also workable work. And of course, there need to be a business driver. If you are not starting from a business driver, then probably your innovation, your Industry 4.0 implementation will have an end. So if it has a business driver, then of course, and it is scalable in your company, then it will continue and you will continue to transform. If you look to sustainability, it's a big definition, of course, it's a big thematic, but for us, we have defined 4 topics which we think is important in this area. We have to look for green, CO2 neutral environments, products that consuming less, and also the emissions should be limited. If you look to circularity, we need to have a vision on the lifetime of a product, not just to sell it, but also to repair it, to upgrade it, and finally to recycle it. So I think this will be important in our journey for sustainability, that we have a vision on circularity. And it has an impact on both production development, design, and so on. And finally, I think also the ecosystem, these are trajectories that companies will probably not do alone. They need to create value chains, which means that you need to set up an active ecosystem where every partner has a kind of a win in the ecosystem. And that's important to be acquainted to using this ecosystem, to working together, whether it's internal into the company, but also external to the company. And then finally, also the human. If you look to workable work, we need to make sure that people are working longer, are supported in tools and technologies, which gives them more features, more abilities, and that's important for the future. If we think about workable work, it's a social aspect of our environment, of our region. And I think we can be much more inclusive in giving people more possibilities than less possibilities. And I think this is what we need also to solve the problem for the war for talent. So coming back to the accelerator, so it's about the resilience, so it's about strengthening through research and development our companies, because I think we need to invest in innovation in order to be a front runner. We cannot just follow the others. We need to be a front runner to make the difference, to set the new standards for other companies, and that's also the way how we should survive in our region. And that we should not do alone. And that's also the reason why we created a program where we submitted also to the government to say, okay, we want to accelerate the end-to-end digital transformation of companies and multiple companies in one program, one project. And this is, let's say, is based on an investment, on some existing investments of a lot of companies. So we have here 6 companies. They will invest about 65 million euros to upgrade their factories, their production environment, their product development environments in a substantial way, that then have the end-to-end digitalization from the supplier up to the customer. And that's a way to also implement sustainability. The government will also support this with 11 million, where most of the money will go to the companies. So we think it's a high TRL level, so it means close to the realization of a factory where we make the difference. We have also a diverse ecosystem with Picanol and Van der Wielen as weaving, but also CNH in the agriculture, crops in really the food processing, Atlas Copco in the, let's say, in the air processing, and then Sapka in the aerospace. So a diverse ecosystem across sectors, it's also helping to connect companies. So we will do this through digital pilot lines where other companies can, let's say, supply components, but also help how they have achieved this development. And by knowing how they have developed this, they can also learn, make less mistakes, and do it the first time right. Of course, there are pilots over Flanders. We will also use a lot of research which we have already done. It's not new research. It's a high-level research which is close to be used for the companies, and this will also accelerate this development. So we have a project approach where we say, okay, we have an overall program, but it will be split up in 6 different programs. If you look to what is the impact we want to achieve with this program, it's both on sustainability and resilience. If you think about sustainability, then we are thinking about the energy footprint, where we want to have a substantial, a double-digit reduction in energy consumption through the connection of processes, through the, let's say, the insights, through to artificial intelligence and other means that we say, how can we save energy? Also using less material, not only in the process, but also end of line, where you have less defect products. So if you go to zero waste, then of course you also save material. The CO2 footprint will be reduced over the entire life cycle of the product, during the life cycle, not only at the production side, but also at the customer. So you need a life cycle approach in order to make this happen. And then, of course, workable work will also be part of the sustainability. Support people to the maximum extent that they can do things which they could not do before. A good example of this is about the sheltered workplaces, the beschutte werkplaatsen. So they employ people which have a cognitive or a physical disability. But finally, we compensate this through technology, and in the end, they make perfect projects. In resilience, we think about the OEE, where companies will be increasing their productivity, which is also a challenge today. And of course, if you look to the total cost of ownership, it's another aspect where we want to work on, that we have not only the technical part, but also the financial part. So this means, so we have these 6 pilot slides with all these companies and so on. So we inject the research, we connect it to the R&D activities which you have, and build demonstrators which we can show to the other companies in a lot of dissemination and workshops, such that they can see how these companies make the difference, how they become front runners in the production of customized production at the cost of serious production. And this will be done through 4 main pillars. First of all, digital end-to-end. I will explain it later on. It's from the product design up to the production monitoring and steering. So you have to combine product and production very intensively, that you avoid duplication of data, that you avoid reinventing the wheel every time again, that you adopt, modify the product such that it can be easily produced. So these interactions, the expertise is available in the companies, but it's not always exploited. So we want to also make a strong connection within the company. Then, of course, we have to make sure that people in the company, they are fully supported on this digital journey, on tools, technologies, which they can use to the benefit of their customers. Because finally, if the customer is paying the bill, so you have to make sure that you create functionality and smartness, which is going to have an end at the customer. Today, we are talking about a lot of validation, digitalization. Digital twins is also a good mean to make sure that you produce your product without having a lot of need for a lot of prototypes, that you adapt your production environment to the needs of the customers, to the sequence of the products they need, and have been able to simulate it such that you know the impact on energy consumption, on outflow, let's say the output of your lines, the reconfiguration of your lines, and so on. So you have to try to simulate in a digital way the full journey, and then, of course, you can use this to optimize it. And finally, if you look to the automation, today we have a lot of island automation, so step by step, we want to connect every little piece in the production chain such that you have data across the full value chain, and then you can try to analyze this data, make correlations, and to upgrade your product and also your production environment. And this is also across the different boundaries. Having these 6 pilots for the companies and the 4 work packages, we have indicated a leader and a co-leader for every pilot line, such that we know that 2 companies are fully embracing the efforts which we need to make the difference. And by doing this, we will create an ecosystem where all these companies, they can work together on a very flexible way, and they can exchange and share the learnings they have done. And this will help them to accelerate this development. So we have different means to do so, so I will not go into all the details. But the fact that we have a cross-sector approach helps us also to be very transparent in what we do and how we do it. The biggest changes in a factory is often taking the ideas of another sector. And I think that's what we fully want to exploit. If you look to what are the commitments, because it doesn't come for free, so there is a big commitment also for the companies. First of all, they have to invest money in a real realization of a new production, a different production, an upgraded production, but also a production and an R&D environment. So the realization of these pilot lines helps us to make it very practical, to show the results, to help them to discuss about the issues that every individual company might have into his journey for this evaluation. Of course, we will do it there will be some technical, but also managerial and business-related issues. So they have to work together, to sit together, to free the time in order to make the difference. And then, of course, they have to also to make a commitment related to prepared to share the learnings. The companies also, as such, they will also benefit from that because, first of all, we have created the ecosystem to share and to have these, to execute these common goals. So it will be on digitalization, it will be an acceleration of digitalization, and of course, all the results can be also shared to other companies. Not only, let's say, the other companies from the same sector, but also suppliers and customers even. So I think this sharing, that's also a benefit for the companies because they can make connections with suppliers which they had not before, because they have seen a good implementation at another company. So this is important that there are commitments and benefits. Finally, there is a win at different stages. And so we have submitted this proposal to an external jury, and they said, okay, you are realizing a quadruple win. So 4 times a win. First of all, the companies will benefit from it. They will create much more value for their investment. The R&D related suppliers, they will do developments which are needed to transfer these companies, but they can use it, convert it into products which they can sell on the market. Of course, we will also help and benefit from it because finally we are closer to the companies. We better understand the needs of the companies such that we can, again, redefine the need for research and solving the problems which are still having a need for research. So I think the uptake of results is also important for us because finally our mission is to upgrade and collaborate with companies that are creating impact. And also it will contribute to a high mix, low volume environment where we have productivity improvements. Everybody knows that on productivity we are at a stable level, so we should break through this stabilization and to go upfront again. So this means we start from a kind of a customized individual company approach and go to a generic multiple cases approach where we are, let's say, going from a company related to innovation to a real open innovation system, ecosystem, where we can share a lot of things. So out of this, you will have, first of all, new standards, which are, you have a kind of a validation of what you have in mind and a vision you want to plan. There will be economies of scale because in the end, if you can scale the developments, you have a much larger return on investment. You will also create a company culture which is across the departments, where departments will have to share information. They will understand the benefit of the sharing information and how to create value for their company. Because or you are working in a silo environment, one department next to each other, or you do it together. And I think if we talk about the data community, we have to share data, and that's also important. You can only do it through cooperation. So this means we are still working on a non-competitive environment where we try to have the generic results, but we also create a lot of architectures, way of working, processes, and so on. And these are building blocks they can be used at the companies, but also at many other companies, both small and big companies. And this will create the value for these 6 companies, but also finally also create value for other companies. What do I mean by the ecosystem within a company? Today, you are, let's say, have an idea, you develop the project, a product in the R&D and design department, and then you have to go to production. So you redevelop almost the product again to make it custom for the production, that it can be produced, that it's manufacturable. So we want to create links across these also sectors. And by doing this, we will connect the supplier to the customer. And all the data which is flowing from left to right and vice versa, you can use such that finally product, production, and after service information is put together such that you know a field service engineer what the problems he has and how you can solve it at the product level. Because it will ease the customer that finally he has less concerns, he will have a faster maintenance upgrade, and he will have finally less cost. So I think it's a multiple win again, where you can really benefit from all the information which is flowing and is available, and then implement it and use it at the right states. Whether it's product or production, you should use it as a common let's say, common platform where you can have access and where you can correlate data such that you can improve the product. Because finally, the product is what you deliver to the customer and what is creating the money. So we really want to connect all these departments in the company, and this will help them to be much more productive and also to have a product which can be faster brought to the market. So also this is a benefit for them because they can upgrade their product. They are ahead of their competition, and so this also should help them to create much more value. We have the means by digitalization, by digital twins, by the access to domain knowledge coupled to artificial intelligence. We strongly believe that you start from the domain knowledge. A motor is still a motor, but whatever you don't know from the physics, you can use through or develop through artificial intelligence. And that's important that we create this, let's say, where the human also, again, has a place. You have the domain knowledge, you have a lot of algorithms which can be used for data, but you have the human who can interpret and take the necessary decision or support it or being supported by decision making. So finally, if you look to this quadruple win that I have explained it, the accelerator should also, it's not a project over multiple years, it's about 2 to 3 years, where we step by step wanted to make the transformation in an accelerated way, where we want to implement a real end-to-end digitalization, because normally it's just implemented in one department. The pilot labs help us to show the results. We have a transfer of know-how, and we will make sure that the resilience, there will be created a lot of resilience and also help us to recover from what happened to us through COVID, but also in recent time through the war situation. So through the acceleration, we will, of course, contribute significantly to the Sustainable Development Goals. I've selected 5 of it where we will be contributing to. Of course, we will create the region which is important for us, for the people, and to live in. So it's the welfare and the competitiveness. We will use the innovation as a means to be prepared for the next decade. And we also want to make sure that digital transformation is something you have to do now, and you should not miss the train, and we should show it to people that there is some value created on this trajectory. And with this, I want to close and also not wait too long before the dinner or the nocturne. Thank you very much.
Yeah.